Welcome back to another episode of
The coffee breakup.
Winding Down on this lovely Friday evening, recording more content for you guys.
Yes, absolutely. It's been kind of hectic, crazy a little bit. Life happens, but I'm glad. I'm very excited actually to be back in the studio with you, Chris. I know life could be stressful, but this is this is also very exciting to do.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess you know what, we should let's warm up a little bit and talk about how the changes that we both have had.
Yeah, I like
Um,
that. That's
we
actually
do
nice.
that and maybe just cut and do the
For
other
sure,
one.
for sure.
So, Marvin, you have since gone from your server job to bartending, and you're
Yes.
aggressively working as many weekends as possible,
Yeah. I
trying
agree.
to save up money.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Before
oh,
me, I made a huge career shift from banking
yeah, yeah.
to sales to now personal training, and we kind of want to talk to you a little bit about how life kind of happens and just how we kind of navigate through it because it ain't easy sometimes, especially when
Yeah.
you're really trying to hustle and grind for a certain thing and life happens.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And the truth, I mean, at this point, I'm sure everybody knows, like, we love doing this, but at the end of the day, we still have bills to pay. We still have
Life.
life. Yeah, like this doesn't, pay the bills, right? Realistically, I mean, hopefully one day will, but we're not there yet, and that's just the reality of it. So until then, we do have day jobs slash night jobs. At this point, we both have both of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been a grind, man. Like I'm 31. I just turned 31 like last month. You're 31, so it's like I think we're just and just this weird thing that we're going through life. Like we are in long-term relationships. The goal is start a family eventually, and all these things. And I feel like we're both feeling the pressure of like what it's like to be a man, right? Be a man, have responsibilities, provide, and create a future for not just you, but ultimately for your partner, and in turn also if we bring life into this world, set child. So it's a lot. Like earlier, Claudia was asking me like, "Hey, like you seem so stressed. You seem so tense. Like what's going on?" And it's like, dude, I work fucking almost every day.
All
Like I
the
don't have no
time.
all the time, and it's like it's not just for me. It's for you, and I tell her it's for us.
Us.
It's for us to create a better life for us. So that definitely can create some type of um, friction. So there's definitely some of that going on. So we've had a nice little conversation outside before, and I'm very happy about it. Just to kind of talk to you, but also yeah, like talk to the audience and give them a little bit of a glimpse of like this is real. When everybody has things that they're going through, and there's people out there who have it worse. There's people out there who have it better. And this is kind of our situation. So hey, thank you guys so much for sticking around. Supporting us, giving us views, giving us likes and comments and all that stuff like that. Trust us, it doesn't go unnoticed. So yeah, just gonna give a little update of us.
Definitely, as time goes on, the pressure really does start to weigh. It just is what I was telling you outside. It almost just feels like that rat race that we're in.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Chasing the carrot, like I had said, where the carrot's being dangled in front of you, and you're there like hustling towards it, but somehow you're never gonna get the carrot. You're just constantly running and working towards the just something unattainable. Is what
Yeah,
it feels like. It's frustrating, and the older that we get, especially that we being in what I like to consider healthy relationships, trying to talk about the future and build towards the future. It really does start getting difficult when you see that almost like the odds are against us, and it could be that we're just being fucking pussies and we're being like fucking bitches. Is because if we were to have Andrew Tate here right now, he'd just be like, "Stop fucking complaining,
yeah,
fucking work more, make more money." And it's like, yeah, dude, we're trying, but at the end of the day, I guess we're doing it at our own pace and the way that we know best. And
yeah.
I think we're trying our best.
Yeah,
We could probably be better. We could probably be more efficient in how we're trying. Like instead of us trying doing, what we're doing, maybe there was a way that we could try and maybe it'll reap, more reward, I
sure.
guess. But we're figuring that out, and I think that that's what life's all about. Where we
Yeah,
almost feel like, hey, maybe I'm not good enough, or you compare yourself to other people where they are, and I also think that, man, there's a lot of people that are in worse situations than us as well.
a hundred
Where we
percent.
almost
Yeah,
become ungrateful with our current situation, where we want more, yet there's people who again have a lot less, and they're just grateful, like they're okay with
yeah.
having less, and then we're here like with more, like fuck, I wish I had more.
Well, it almost goes to when we've talked about this, and you think about people who are living in different countries and different circumstances who have like you said, far less, but are generally more happy. And like we are like so stressed. Like you wake up in the morning, 6, 7 days a week. It's like I gotta work, I gotta do this. But like for what really? Like what are we doing? At the end of the day, and we've talked about it. Like we're so insignificant in the grand scheme of the size of the universe and the galaxy and stuff like that. And we're here stressing about fucking paying bills and getting married and fucking walking down an aisle and getting all kinds of shit. And it's like no one gives a fuck. In 100 years, none of it's gonna matter. So it's like
I
what
know.
matters is right now. It was really refreshing for us to have a conversation sitting outside. That matters because
It
it's
was
you, it's
nice. It was
me.
nice.
It was nice. It was nice, especially because we haven't done it in a while. So it's like that is what matters. Everything else is just noise in the background, really, if you think about it. So, yes, people have it worse, but we're still going through it. We still have to be, deal with it and take it as it goes. Reminds me of there was a video on TikTok and I saw and the girl was like, "Oh my god, like you have to have at least like, comparison to the thief of joy." And people always, think everybody else is better off than they are. And realistically, it's a lot of people are fucked right now. It's the truth of the matter. It's like people are like struggling. And this video that I saw, it's like the girl was like, "Oh, like you have to have at least," or she was saying like if she doesn't have, what was the amount? Maybe $4,000 on her checking account. It was some number that she's like, if it's less than that, like I'll start panicking. And people are like in the comments, you go like if you ever like stressed about like your finance, you look through the comments, and we'll probably put it up. You look through the comments and people are like, dude, I have like $50 in my checking account. Like and somebody's like, oh, my shit's overdrawn and I have to wait till payday in 2 days to get paid and stuff like that. So it's like real people are having real problems, are struggling. And so it's like, it's all about perspective. And I think we're all doing what we can. And hopefully that's enough. But no one has it all figured out. And if people tell you that they have it figured out, a lot of times they're either bullshitting or it took them a very, very long time to get to where they are. So
Yeah.
I think we just have to be a little bit compassionate to ourselves.
I agree. I agree. And it's funny because comparison is a thief of joy. And you look at scenarios where it's like you're doing the best that you can, and there's probably somebody else in the same exact situation as you, and they have like children as well. You know what I mean? So just
Yeah.
imagine like what they're going through and
Yeah.
how they have to kind of provide for more mouths and feed more mouths. And we're here just like stressed about certain things that maybe we don't really have to be stressed about, or creating stresses that really don't need to. Like I get it. Like especially in this country, and more especially in the state of Florida or South Florida especially. There's this like feeling of competitiveness, and you had said outside, the consumerism is so big where it's like everyone has to buy stuff and they need the new thing and they need to show off and they need to flex and they need to show, like, for what, dude?
Yeah.
Like for what? Like
No one gives a fuck, dude.
I'm getting to that point where and I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a broke bitch, because maybe if I had money, and maybe I'll be like, yeah, I don't know, I don't think so, because I don't get impressed. Like for example, my girlfriend, like she'll talk about maybe like a belt that she's wearing, like, oh, should I wear this belt or that belt? Or I have a perfect example. She's going on a trip now with her aunt and mother, and she had like this outfit, and then she had this belt that's a Louis Vuitton belt, and it has like the LV on it.
Yeah.
And one side is solid black, and the other side is brown with LV plastered all over it. And
Yes,
she's like,
yes,
what
yes.
side do you think looks nicer? And I'm like, dude, like, why? Like, do you want people? You want to promote that? Is that what you want? What you're
Yeah.
doing? You're just promoting them. Same thing. Have you seen those sandals from Christian Dior that literally say Christian Dior?
Yes, of course, of course.
I think those are the most cringe things in the
Gross.
world. Like, you spend so much money off of like 2 sandals just because it says Christian Dior, to then flex Christian Dior on
Yeah.
your feet. I find that so tacky. And again, maybe that's the broke boy in me talking, because I don't have things like that. But I'm also not like, man, I can't wait till I get my first pair of Christian Dior. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I find no excitement into working hard or wearing, where the shirts for. Like, who gives a fuck, dude?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like I have no interest in like trying to dress that way where it's like, oh shit, this guy has like a fucking designer fucking shirt on or whatever. Yeah.
But I feel like that's the environment that we're in,
yeah.
though, right? Like everyone feels like they need to have something else, and I feel like everyone who's successful, like here, it's never enough. Like we look at like corporations and things like that, and
Yeah.
when people start making money, or like think of the real estate, the housing market. It's almost like, man, there's people who don't have homes over their heads. They don't have roofs over their heads. Like they're here like sharing an apartment in order for them to be able to afford the rent, and it's like, the people who are making money or maybe have invested in real estate or maybe corporations that they just every year, like you need to make more and more money in order to feed more people or to grow. Everything's
Yeah.
about growth. It can never be about sustainability because the only way for you to be sustained is to continue growing. But it's almost like, dude, like you're just making things so much more difficult. I'll give you an example. I reposted this thing on Instagram that I was like, oh, I think the profits of Publix had gone up like 49%. I think from year over year, and it's like, dude, like they've raised the price of everything in the supermarkets, and I get maybe either it's inflation or maybe supply and demand to a certain degree, but I also feel like we've come down to some sort of level of normalcy, I guess if that's the word, for us to be able to afford eggs, and Publix doesn't get a gain of $49,000 on their revenue. It's like, do you like why? I don't know. I just don't understand what's happening, and I just feel like that constant rat race of having to like do this and buy a certain thing, and you got to keep working, and it's like I don't know. I don't understand what really is the point. And I think that here, maybe in America, especially down here in South Beach, it's like you have to continuously.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, we live in Miami. We live in a major city, and everything is like what you're wearing, what you're driving, like all kinds of stuff. It's like, and I think the sooner you realize like this is all bullshit, the sooner you can find some sense of happiness in this fucking crazy life that we're living. And I'm getting to the point now, like where like I have my colleagues and people that are around me to have conversations about, and I told you this earlier, but stuff that it's like, oh, I want to get this, I want to buy that, or whatever. And it's like, for what, dude? Oh, like, I recently got a car because my car was literally breaking down. So I got like a Honda Civic, right? Like it's a newer car, and I love how it drives. I love it.
Versus your old car.
Versus
So
my
for you, technically, it's still an upgrade.
Yeah,
It's not the typical upgrade maybe most Miamians
exactly.
would
Like all my
expect.
coworkers were like, oh, like, or not all of them, but most of them were like, dude, get a fucking Challenger, get a Charger, get this, get
Well,
that.
give
It's
the
like,
example you gave us of
yeah. So I don't want to name any names, so it'll just be a little vague. But
a
it's like,
story that you heard of.
yeah. So I know someone who I
There's a story that he saw on
Yeah.
social media of someone who needed a car
right, and instead
Or-
of getting they needed a car, and instead of getting like a basic car, they get
that they
something
could
more alright.
afford.
They could they
Wait,
could
but what was the
afford.
story? Start from the beginning. What happened to their original car,
So they lost their car. Their car got repoed.
allegedly?
Allegedly, their car got repossessed. They didn't pay whatever X amount of months. So now they didn't have a car. So okay, what do you need? You need to get a car. And specifically in Miami, you need to get around. So they
Gotcha.
were car shopping, whatever. Da da da. Normal people would say, well, you know what? I'm gonna
I need
downsize a little bit.
transportation. I
Exactly.
got repoed.
Yes, let me downsize a little
Something
bit.
that won't get repoed.
Exactly,
That I could
that I
afford.
could afford. No, but not this person. This person was looking at cars that were exotic cars that were in the 40 Mercedes, like like luxury cars, quote unquote. It's like something that you can't really afford. Clearly not, because you just got your car repoed. So it's like
Not
again, it's
a
like
wise financially.
exactly
wise, savvy.
financially stupid decision, and it's like what you if you're gonna make a mistake, at least learn from it. But instead of that, you're just gonna fall into the same problem. And it's like people living above their means, and it goes through that over consumerism, making the same mistakes that they did before, just kind of like working just to live. And it's like just to pay bills. And it's like, bro, like I don't want to be around for that. So like the car that I got was more expensive than obviously the car that I had, but it was still like within the realms of possibility for me. Anything after that would have been too much. But it's like, no, I got a Honda Civic, dude. Like other people would get like a BMW or this and this, especially when they just got a new job, made a little bit more money. But it's like that's not what I wanted to do. It's like I don't want to deal with that shit. I'm already fucking hating making the payments to the car. It's like I want to get rid of it. So it's like the car payments, just pay more. But it's like that's the problem with these people, especially in the city, in this country. It's like everybody wants to just show off and say, "Look at me, look at me." No one gives a fuck, dude. No one gives a fuck what you drive. They just look at it. Oh shit, cool car, and then they're gonna forget about it.
It's so sad because like I'm picturing the response of someone, especially down here in Miami, if you're like, hey, I just got a new car. Their first assumption would have been like, oh, Marvin probably, stepped up, got a fucking Challenger, maybe, something European,
Yeah,
maybe
BMW.
even a Jaguar, something nice. And then if you pull up with your Civic, they're probably like, oh, okay, cool, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, like that's where we are, where it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why a Civic instead of like nice? You know what I mean? Like
And
that's how that
yeah,
shit gets viewed.
and I wanted to make the decision of getting a new car based on like, I wanted to be strategic. I wanted to be smart about it, and so what I went with. But like a lot of people don't, and I get it. Like when you're young, you make dumb financial decisions. We've all been there. But I'm 31 now. You're 31. It's like I feel like we're learning to be smarter with
I
our
think
money.
we're trying to.
Yeah,
We're trying
and so like I'm trying to like obviously like now like paying off the debt. I have like 2 grand left out of like 19. I think that's where I started. So like huge accomplishment for me. Me and Claudia were trying to be on the same page, just being
Congratulations.
financially. Thank you. Just being budgeting. Now we live together, so it's just like a lot of things are
How
happening.
exciting.
It's exciting, and I love it. I love coming home every night knowing that Claudia is here. Like I love it.
Oh,
I'm super
do
excited.
tell.
Yeah, so
It's nice, right?
it is very
You look
nice.
forward to it.
I look forward to it.
Makes you happy when
And
you know when you get here, she's
yeah,
here.
like because then there's times where she would spend many days, whatever, but then she would be like, oh, she would go home for the weekend or whatever, and I'm like, damn, like can't you just stay a little bit longer? And I wouldn't want her to leave, and like not much has changed other than she's just here now all the time because this is her space as much as it is mine. Uh, but other than that, like it's kind of the same. But I just love being with her, and I work so much. Like the little bit of time that we do have, I enjoy. So I enjoy coming home with her, enjoy spending time with her. Like we've been dating for officially like three years next month, and so now she just finally moved in, and the goal is to get engaged and do all that stuff like that. And I know for sure, I'm confident it'll happen soon at some point. But yeah, I'm excited to have her here. You
It's
know,
amazing, man.
so
Yeah, a lot of changes for both of us. Yeah, like I said, so I made a huge career change, and I felt like I was in this like rabbit hole of, man, I'm really unhappy doing what I'm
yeah,
doing,
yeah,
and if not now, then when? And you were a big driver in that because you're just like, man, like take the opportunity because you're always gonna look back and say, what if? And not everyone is in a position where they can do it. I'm in a relationship where I feel somewhat that I was very supported. I was somewhat supported into it. It was a little bit scary given like the ideal
yeah,
plans that everybody would like. And I think this kind of put like a little kind of a damper in the direction that we were going. However, still in the same direction, just maybe a little bit slower in the
slower
timing.
pace maybe.
Slower pace, but I think overall in the future it's going to be much more rewarding because I'm more in an environment that I'm happier. And if I'm once I'm at the place where I'm making the same or start making more than what I was when I was like in banking, for example, it's going to be in a space that I enjoy doing it rather than being miserable making the same money in a place that I don't want to and calling that home for the next 20
Yeah,
30 years because I have to.
yeah,
So it's a scary leap, and especially now we talk about how changes are coming and life is happening. You're planning on, proposing and children. I mean, same thing with me.
yeah,
And it almost feels like now the older that we get, the pressure kind of just builds up a little bit more. Me taking a step back, career wise, it just kind of amplifies it even more because it's like I gotta speed it up even faster. Which it's not that I'm taking my sweet ass time,
no,
but it's a reset that I'm now hustling towards
yeah,
a direction that I think makes more sense. And that's kind of where the balance is now with life that you're like, was it the right move? Am I going to get there on time? There's that question of uncertainty of when is it going to work out
yeah,
or if it's even going to work out, right? Because it may not
yeah.
also.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I told you from the beginning, I meant what I said. I'll always be your biggest champion, and I'm very happy that you decided to take a chance on yourself.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, you have to be honest with yourself and say, hey, this is not working for me. I'm not happy here. I'm gonna try something else. And so I'm excited for you. I know it's a challenge. I know it's an uphill battle. You catching up. Maybe you feel like you took a step back, a little bit of a setback. Could be, but at the end of the day, I think life's it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. And so I think you'll still end up where you need to, essentially. And I'm excited for you, man. Like, funny enough, the other day I went into a bank because you've done banking for years.
Sure.
I walked into a bank and I had to do some things, whatever. And I'm like, man, like this place looks like a fucking graveyard. Like it's just like it's dark, it's damper. Like it just doesn't look like it's something where you want to spend 40 plus hours a week in. And so I thought about it. It's like, man, I feel like if you were still in that environment, you would hate your life. And so I chuckled when I walked in. Like Chris used to be in banking, and it's like now he's doing something completely different. And I'm just like, It's like it's. I know you don't see the reward right now, but I feel like down the line you look back and be like, I'm so glad I did this.
Yeah.
So just want a little shout out with you
Thank
because
you.
I'm excited for
I
you.
think so too. I think so too. I don't think I've ever met someone in banking that enjoys banking.
Yeah.
But I also feel like most people, when they have a job, like there's a lot of people that have jobs that they don't like and they just deal with it, and they go, and that's their life,
People just fall into it and then they just like get used to it. It's like we've talked about it. Like it's like you just become kind of
Well, think about
numb
it.
to it.
Imagine, I'm not for nothing. Imagine you,
Yeah.
like you're at a restaurant, you're a bartender,
Yeah.
and if you've been there for 10 years, technically, if you want to do it, like, what else are you good at? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, or that you can really get hired for. You can't go after being in a bartender for 10 years, for example, and go into the bank and be like, hey, I want to apply for the branch manager role.
True.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
I think that that's what happens, especially within banking. The good thing about banking is that there's a lot of different departments where you can kind of grow into. So if you want to be sales, there's that world for you there. If you
Okay.
want to get into
Yeah.
management and operational stuff, you can take that route too. You want to get into fraud, or really getting into the operational side of understanding how the banks work, and
Sure.
reading, counting things. There's that as well. Legal. If you want to be an attorney, right? You want to get legal. You want to, there's a lot of opportunities that I think that you can grow into. Um, but still, after so many years of maybe being a banker, it's kind of hard to apply to anything else and be like, hey, I want to do this, because
Mhm.
all the experience you have is that. And I feel like that's what happens with a lot of careers, which I think that's why Gary Vee, when he says, like, when you're young, dude, try a bunch of different shit, because
Yes. Yes.
you're
Yes.
able to kind of test the waters of things to see what you really want to do, what you're good at.
Yeah.
And you also are going to have a lot of experiences, a lot of different experience, where you're then able to kind of mold to different environments rather than just doing one thing for the rest of your life because you feel like you have to and you have no choice, and then you're stuck doing that. If you really want to make a career change, kind of like me, it's almost like, well, how are you going to do it? I'm lucky that the change that I made it makes sense based on my lifestyle, because I do love fitness. I
Yeah. Yeah.
practice nutrition and health and all
Kind of
these
made
things.
sense. Yeah.
So it's not a hard, like, that's something that you could do too if you really wanted to. Um, so I'm fortunate that that's the direction that I'm taking. But it is that reset button.
Yeah.
And for me being a little bit older, it does. The pressure definitely is there to make sure that we can make something happen before it gets even more difficult.
Yeah, for sure. And it's in it. I mean, obviously, you're in a relationship, long term relationship. It sounds for the most part that your partner has been understanding and she's acclimated to the adjustment and schedule and time and all that stuff like that. Do you feel like you guys figured out a way to where it made sense for the both of you guys where you currently are?
So it was a bit of a shock for her, because I think she's, and maybe this is most women, well, maybe not, because Claudia's really not like this, but I guess she had some sort of plan in her head of how her life would go, and I think most people do.
Yeah.
I just don't think everyone has the they don't have like they don't have what it takes to really manage if things don't go to plan. Um, I feel like I'm always in this problem solving mode, and I think most men are. Whenever there's an issue, like whenever Claudia tells you something, do you just listen to her, or are immediately looking for ways to solve the problem?
I try to find a solution for the issue at hand.
Exactly, and that's I think that's a problem that most men have. So for us, whenever we have a change like this, like me, like this change, you're asking me how what's happening in my relationship.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, this happened. It's an issue. How do I solve it? Okay,
Mhm.
well, this is what needs to happen. Whereas I think for women, if there's a problem, I don't know. I guess maybe they don't have that, or they're quick to say, okay, well, all right, let's change the plan in order for it to make sense. It's almost like, wait, what do you mean it's not according to plan? And that's kind of where I feel like I'm at right now, where there was a little bit of a change and everything, and maybe I don't know if I was fully supported at first. I'm more supported now,
Okay.
but I'm only supported if the results come, and I don't know. Like, I can't tell the future. I'm confident that it will. I really am confident. I feel like I know my stuff, and I know that I'm gonna do well, but I also don't. I can't prove that. I can't prove confidence. I have to just
Yeah.
have it, and that's where it's almost like that uncertainty, I think, on a woman, instead of it being like, well, I'm here to problem solve, like, I'm gonna figure it out, like, this is how I'm gonna do it. It's more like, well, I don't see it now, so how am I gonna know it's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And I think that that's where I'm at. So there's support in, hey, pushing you and I'm motivating you and I want you to do this, but it's almost like when, and that's where.
Do you feel like you would have continued to pull the trigger on the decision to flip your whole life around, essentially your whole your professional life, if you would have gotten the hey, I'm not okay with this, like you wouldn't get the support that you needed or that you desired? Would you have gone through with it, or would you have kind of backed out?
Well, you know what's funny because looking back, I'm thinking when I made the decision to leave banking, I remember I shared that with my girlfriend, and she was supportive. She's like, "Yeah, you're miserable. Like, get
Yeah.
the fuck out of there and see if there's something else." And I did. I tried to get into more sales specific, and that really wasn't working out. In fact, the company that I was working for went out of business, or not went out, but they chose to eliminate that the division that I was working for.
Yeah.
So it wasn't gonna make sense for me to even be there. So then I'm like, okay, well, I've always loved fitness. Like it almost felt like, well, I had to do something. And I mean, I could probably look for banking and look for something else, but what if I did something that I truly loved? And that's kind of where I fell into it. So it's a reset is what it is. So it's a little bit difficult, but from the start, there was a little bit of a push of like, hey, find something that makes you happy. And then now I'm doing it, and it's almost like, well, it's not where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And that's where it's a little bit
Because the reason I'm bringing it up is because I'm sure there's going to be some people who are listening, particularly probably guys who feel like, hey, I'm stuck. I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing, but I have X, Y, and Z responsibilities. I have a partner, that may or may not support the decision of me trying something new. And it's like, what do you do? Because at one end, it's like, yeah, you're in a relationship with somebody. So if your decision affects the other person, you kind of have to consult them. But at the end of the day, it's also your life. So kind of where do you kind of, I feel like you go just, hey, this is what I need to do. And if I would want you to be there by my side, but if you're not, I understand, but I got to do this for myself. Is that kind of the thought process you should have in the situation?
Yeah, I think you really need to know who you're with. I think you really need to understand your partner, because I feel like most people are with someone for the wrong reasons. So, for example, like I'll watch videos of like these toxic ass relationships of women being like, well, if you don't have a job and you're not making money, why would I be with you then? Because they're just with them for being provided for, being supported. And I think most relationships are like that, where they're like, well, if I'm with you because I need support and you're providing me for that support, so I'll be your wife or your partner because you're supporting me.
Yeah.
Like that shows me that you love me. I'm going to show you some type of love. But I don't think it's genuine love. And I think if you really knew your partner and you really knew what they were capable of and you knew their intention, like you knew their character and their reasoning. I think you brought up a while ago, you sent us a video in the group chat with the senoritas. And it's like, look, men like work hard for you. Like that's what they care about. They want to make your future bright, and they do it all with the intention of making the life better for both of you. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel, And I think that my partner sees that. I think she knows that. So then she knows that the decisions that I make is based on trying to make us better. They're not selfish decisions. I think that they're semi-selfish in the sense of like, hey, like I want to make sure that I'm happy, but I also want to be happy for us to be happy in the relationship. Yeah. Would you want me to continue doing a career that makes me unhappy and then I come home and bring that kind of baggage? And you can make the argument of, well, you separate that. Like, hey, that's work, you're home. But that's also very difficult because you're experiencing your life. And when you're frustrated at work, sometimes you're still frustrated when you get home. You're still thinking about it. So then that's kind of where I was. And I feel like I was supported in the leaving of that to be happier. But then again, it's just the overall uncertainty and the question mark of, well, we got to get back to that same track, just happier. We're not there now. So how long is it going to take for us to get there? And that's where I'm at, just trying to get to that.
Nice. Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely want to touch up on it a little bit because I think your situation is not unique to just you. I think there's a lot of people out there who's struggling, who figuring out like, hey, I don't really want to do this. I want to try something new.
Right.
And they're trying to just navigate how to go about it.
Yeah. To answer like your question, like you really just have to figure out who you're with, and you really have to make sure that you want to be with them for the right reasons, not for the wrong ones. Because you even brought up the example. It's like, well, let's say for example you didn't do a career switch, but you lost your job, which is what happened to a lot of people.
Sure.
Especially with tech, I think Tesla laid off like a shit ton of people. We had our friend Gabriel.
One of our boys.
Yeah, he was saying how people, they found out like in an email like past midnight or some shit, and they went in the morning to try their fob and it wouldn't work. And So you see situations like that, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure those people will probably bounce back and they'll be fine. But say I lost my job or you lost your job, guy, and you're with your partner, is she gonna stay with you?
Yeah.
And I think that that's the kind of the question that you really have to put in front of your partner to see if it's like, who am I dating?
Yeah.
Like, are they with me because they want to be with me and they're willing to support me in the highs and lows, and they have my back, or are they just there because they're comfortable? And
100%. And you have to know like who that person is. Are they gonna pick up another or pick up a job and
also
hustle
the other
and
side.
while you know try to stay afloat or figure things out or and make it work and say, you know what, I got you, baby, listen, you will get back on your feet, in the meantime I got this? Or are they gonna be like, yo, you don't have a job, you can't provide, I'm out of here? And
Yeah,
if the person you're with is the latter, then you are dating the wrong person,
yeah,
because it may be you get laid off a job, tomorrow you get sick, something happens to you, you can't work, whatever, X, Y, and Z. There's a million things that could go wrong if you're spending the rest of your life with this person. It's not if it's, but it's when something eventually will happen. That's just life. We just have to be ready for it. The person you're with, are they going to be there and have your back, or are they just going to say, you know what, I'm out of here because you cannot provide this life for me?
and I think this is a good opportunity to talk about the.
Wait, kick it over.
And I think this is a good opportunity to talk about the card game that we have, the basics, where we've crafted 50 questions.
Yeah.
And it kind of defines like what you should be talking about with your partner. So all these questions, like when you start dating, of like, hey, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite number? All this bullshit. It's important to really understand who it is that you're dating. So when you start dating someone, there's certain questions that you need to be asking to really understand the character of that person. And if you've been dating for a long time and maybe you're questioning, just like you said, well, what would you say to someone in this situation? This is a perfect opportunity for you to then use the cards within within like the ones that we made, because you're able to create those questions that maybe you would have never had, that digs a little bit deeper underneath that surface level that you kind of go on the daily, where it's like almost feels monotonous and routine.
Yeah.
This breaks that kind of up. It shakes it up a little bit for you to really ask the questions that really matter, to see it like, hey, I know I've been with you for a long time, but if is this really someone that I see my future with? Is it someone that will support me if anything were to happen? Is it someone that I can see myself with children? Is it going to work out? Are we going to be on the same page? Like, these are the type of questions that we've created in order for us to really uncover that. And and yeah, as long as you have fluid communication, you really know who it is that you're dating, then you'll be able to kind of overcome everything. And this is an opportunity for you to really do that. So I guess a quick little plug in, head over to thecoffeebreakup.com and you'll be able to buy it yourself and buy it for somebody else. Or this is a perfect gift for anybody who's maybe in a situation that you don't really know what to get to, whether they're just started dating, whether they just got engaged, they just got married. Like, this is something that anyone can benefit from, because
Yeah.
these questions really go above and beyond to what you would expect. And we called it the basics for a reason, because you think that the most basic questions should be the simple ones. But if you want a healthy and happy relationship that really means something, you really have to set the foundation. And that's why we created the real basics of questions that you need in order to have that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, like your situation is a prime example as to why you really got to know your partner, know who you're with. And in sense, the basics is a great to kind of figure out who's this person that maybe I've just started seeing. Maybe we've been together for years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever the time is. These questions anybody could benefit from just kind of figuring out who their partner is.
Absolutely. So, hey, head over to thecoffeebreakup.com and you'll be able to order your own kind of set of the basics as well. We may even have some promotions there for you, maybe some specials. So go ahead and check out, again,
Check it out.
www.thecoffeebreakup.com. We also have our book, Starting From Within. So basically, this all came kind of in fruition together, where it started off with, hey, we want to talk about a book of how important it is to really look for the right things in relationships and how to really create that within yourself to bring those healthy relationships to you. But then once you bring that relationship to you, I mean, try to identify who that person really is, and that's where the card game comes in.
Absolutely. Yeah. The book, Starting From Within, I get great feedback from it. Like, people have reached out. I have Claudia's family members have read it, and they love it. So it's an easy read, very comfortable to read, very nice, and it just opens up to self and realize like that every relationship starts with yourself. It's essentially what we're doing and we've been doing for the past 4 years now. It's kind of like teaching people and helping people to figure out like everything begins with you, the relationship with yourself and everybody else in your life. So I think it's a great way to kind of have some self improvement if you
Of
haven't started already.
Of course. And for anyone who's new here or who doesn't really know us, we started off as a relationship podcast. And I think to this point, we still do talk about it because every healthy relationship starts with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's where the cardigan comes in. That's where the book came in because it really creates that foundation of who it is that you should be, especially if you're trying to be that person to be in a relationship or to welcome healthy relationships, not just intimate, also platonic, professional, just to be an overall better individual to then attract the right people into your life. That's where the book, that's why it was created. That's why we wrote the book. It's literally going to teach you how to really become that individual. And like you said, the course that we created, it's more in depth of what it is that you're getting here. So if you were to see the course, it has videos of how it is that we explain each chapter, kind of going over in the details of why it is that we wrote it and how to apply that into your daily life. And if you kind of read the book, you go through the course, or if you just want to get the card game, I know that you'll really benefit from it. So again, head over to thecoffeebreakup.com. Go ahead and get your order of I think we also have a PDF download.
Yeah, the free PDF download.
We also have
that
everything was tied in. Yeah, so if you're not ready for any of this, download the free PDF, and that'll at least get you started of what it is to be an overall healthy individual, not just for your body and your mind, but also for your soul and to attract the right people to you.
Absolutely, I love that. And if you're in need of a personal trainer, I guess you can sell yourself.
Sure.
Christian.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So for me, I took overall health very seriously because, again, every healthy relationship starts with yourself. So I feel like this was a perfect marriage into I want to help people feel their best when it comes to their health and their fitness, because if I know that I can push you to feel better, you're going to just overall be a happier, more genuinely happier person to be around, and you're going to look forward to different relationships. You're going to look forward to being excited to meet people, to do different things when you move your body. So I became a personal trainer for that reason, because if I want people to find healthy relationships, I want you to be healthy first. So yeah, if you are looking for a personal trainer, I'm located in Miami, but I also do virtual stuff and online things. So you just have to reach out to the Coffee Breakup and we'll be able to link you up with whatever it is that you need.
I love that, absolutely. So if you're in need of, you want to get ready for, summer, it's a little bit late, I guess, but
not if you work with me.
Exactly, Jim. Man can do some magic. But yeah, thank you again, guys, for tuning in. We appreciate you guys, and stay tuned.
Things are coming.
Guys, thank you.